In the sand section of Manhattan Beach right now, condos are selling in just 8 days at over 100% of the list price. Meanwhile, single-family homes just a few blocks away are sitting for a median of 39 days and trading roughly 5.5% under asking. If you just scan the headlines, you might think the market is simply cooling or stabilizing. But if you are planning to sell in the next 3 to 6 months, you cannot afford to guess which one of those realities is actually yours. Selling into this version of the Manhattan Beach market can mean a difference of hundreds of thousands of dollars depending on whether you understand the gap between the sprint lane and the negotiation zone. We are seeing a market split by product type, where entry-level scarcity is driving bidding wars while the luxury single-family sector is finally facing price discipline. By the end of this video, you will know exactly whether it makes more sense to sell your specific home type now or hold, given what is actually happening beneath the citywide averages. If you are thinking about selling in the next 3 to 6 months, you're facing a very specific window of opportunity. You are balancing today's inventory squeeze, where we have critically low supply, against a hangover from the Palisades migration event of last year. We also have to talk about the wild card of the new high-rise development proposals along Sepulveda and the hardening insurance market, because those two things are changing the value map of our city in real time. This is about deciding whether you want to capitalize on the current inventory floor or risk the volatility of a market that is still trying to find its new baseline. Walking through the tree section today, you feel the quiet stability of families locked into low rates. Contrast that with the anxiety corridor near Sepulveda, where the prospect of 7-story or 8-story developments is reshaping how buyers value views and privacy. It feels like two different markets, and the data confirms that split. We have what I call the inventory crisis, keeping prices high, and the development shadow complicating the future. These aren't just abstract concepts. They are the forces that will determine your pricing strategy and your days on market. Let's look at the foundation of everything: scarcity. In December 2025, Manhattan Beach had just 1.6 months of supply for single-family homes. To define that for you, months of inventory measures how long it would take to sell every home on the market if no new homes were listed. Anything under 3 months is technically an extreme seller's market. But here is the number that matters more. We ended December with only 35 active single-family listings in the entire city. That is down 34% from last year. We are operating at a massive deficit. The floor under your price is solid simply because there is almost nothing else to buy. I have homeowners just like you reaching out every week trying to figure out if they missed the peak or if the scarcity is their safety net. If you want that same clarity for your specific address, I use a tool called HomeBot to help my clients monitor this. Think of it as a monthly financial dashboard for your home. It tracks your estimated equity, your mortgage options, and your buying power based on real-time rates. It doesn't replace a strategic CMA because no algorithm can see your view or your upgrades, but it is the best way to keep a pulse on your position until you're ready for that deeper conversation. You can get plugged into that using the link in the description. I'm Hernandez, your real estate advisor here in Manhattan Beach, California. My job isn't just to sell homes. It is to work with you and build a flight plan for your equity in a market that has become incredibly complex. Citywide averages are dangerous shortcuts right now because a single-family home in the Hills section faces a completely different set of risks than a townhome in East Manhattan Beach. I'm here to give you the precision you need. Here is the roadmap for the next couple of minutes. I'm going to show you where the speed and pricing power are living right now so that you don't underprice. We will look at where the payment ceiling is, capping value so that you don't overlist, and we will break down how the invisible forces of insurance and the new residential overlay district projects could reshape your plans for 2026. Let's start with where the market is moving fastest, the condo and townhome segment. While the luxury market catches its breath, this segment is sprinting. In December 2025, the median days on market for condos dropped to just 8 days. More importantly, the sell to list price ratio hit 1 100.6%. In plain English, that means buyers in the under $2 million range are moving instantly and paying premiums to secure a spot. With the median price closing at $1,853,000, this segment has become the primary target for buyers who are priced out of single-family homes but desperate to get into the school district. What that really means for you if you sell is that you have the leverage of speed. On the ground, this feels like 2023 again. Limited options, immediate offers, and very little patience for hesitation. With only 8 active units citywide, you are the price. If you're an owner in this condo or townhome segment, you might be wondering, can I push the price aggressively since there is nothing else to buy? Based on the 100.6% sell to list ratio, you have pricing power, but it is not unlimited. If the market is behaving like this, snapping up inventory in 8 days, then your safest posture is strategic alignment. You really have 2 paths here. If your goal is a clean exit, the data suggests that pricing at the most recent comparable sale will likely generate speed and potentially multiple offers. Buyers are terrified of missing out when there are only 8 units in the city. If your goal is to maximize every dollar, you can push the price slightly above the last sale, but you must ensure your unit is turnkey. Buyers stretching to that $2 million mark are often maxed out on down payments and cannot afford renovations. The right move depends on your unit's condition and HOA health. This is where a one-on-one strategy session matters most. If you are buying a condo or a townhome right now, you might be asking, should I wait for more inventory in the spring? The data indicates that waiting is a risky posture because with homes selling in 8 days and over asking price, the deals are non-existent. If you see a unit you love, your decision rule is simple. Speed is your currency. If the unit is fresh, you need to move decisively. The numbers suggest the winning strategy is a strong initial offer rather than waiting for a price drop that likely won't come. If you wait, you risk competing with the spring buyer wave while inventory remains historically compressed. The median price for single-family homes closed December at roughly $3,165,000. While that is up 43% from the 2022 bottom, it is down from the migration that we saw in early 2025 from the Pacific Palisades. More importantly, homes here are sitting for an average of 39 days, and sellers are receiving about 94.5% of their list price. Said simply, the frenzy is over. Buyers are still transacting, but they have hit a limit on what they're willing to pay. They are using those 39 days to conduct inspections, verify insurance, and negotiate roughly 5.5% off the asking price. What that really means for you if you sell is that you are facing a classic chase the market risk. The days of putting a sign in the front yard and getting 10 offers over list are gone for this price band. If you are an owner of a single family home in these sections, you might be worrying, am I going to sit on the market if I list right now? That depends entirely on your pricing strategy relative to the December baseline. If you price your home based on the headlines from early 2025, when the median was over $4 million, you will likely sit for 50 plus days and eventually sell for less. If your goal is to maximize your net proceeds, your safest posture is data-backed realism. Let's look at your options based on the data. If you want to avoid the stigma of high days on market, align your price with the December baseline of $3.1 million. This acknowledges the payment ceiling and invites buyers to engage. If you insist on testing a higher price, you must have a pre-planned reduction strategy. If you aren't in escrow by day 30, the data says you are overpriced and you need to adjust quickly before the listing goes stale. The boundary here is that aspirational pricing is currently being punished by the market. If you are buying a single family home, you might be wondering, do I have any leverage or is this still a seller's game? You have significantly more breathing room here than in the condo market. If you are looking in this segment, your posture should be diligent negotiation. With inventory sitting for over a month and trading under list price, you have the leverage to request repairs and negotiate terms. If a home has been active for 30 days, you can use the time to investigate insurance costs and zoning risks. Finally, let's look at the pockets of value and vulnerability. East Manhattan Beach currently holds the most liquidity with roughly 12 active listings, while the Hills section is incredibly tight with only 2. However, the Hills section is facing unique headwinds from the high-rise proposals along Sepulveda, which is creating a view anxiety for certain streets. What that really means for you if you sell is that transparency is your best asset. Buyers are hyper aware of the zoning changes. If you're an owner in the Hill section or near the Sepulveda corridor, you might be asking, will the high-rise proposals kill my property value? It won't kill the value, but it changes the conversation. If you disclose the development landscape up front and frame it around walkability or future amenities, you control the narrative. If you hide it, you risk the deal falling apart due to due diligence when the buyer discovers an 18-story tower is proposed nearby. Your path here is to sell the lifestyle of the Hill section, the estate lots, and the prestige while being honest about the changing skyline. If you're buying in East Manhattan Beach, this is where you have the most choice. With 12 active listings, this is the one part of the town where you can actually compare options. The data supports a patient approach here. You can look for the best value per square foot without the immediate pressure of the sand section. So before we move on to the macro data, here is the scoreboard. Condos are sprinting and selling over list in a week. Single family homes are negotiating and taking over a month to sell. And the Hill section is holding its breath amidst development news. If you're an owner in the condo market, you have speed. If you are an owner in the single family market, you have equity, but you need patience. If you're an owner near the corridor, you need a strategy for the zoning conversation. If you want to translate this scoreboard into a specific sell now versus hold decision for your address, I invite you to grab the equity snapshot using the link below. It's designed to give you clarity, not pressure. That's the neighborhood math. Now let's talk about the forces you won't see on a CMA, the macro drivers that are quietly reshaping the playing field. First, interest rates. The 30-year fixed mortgage has stabilized around 6.16% as of early January 2026. Second, the Federal Reserve has shifted its posture, cutting the federal funds rate to a range of 3.50 to 3.75%. Third, we are seeing a decoupling of the West from the rest of the country. In plain English, the West is waking up faster. Pending home sales in the West region surged 9.2% month over month in November. While the rest of the country is moving slowly, buyers in our region are reacting aggressively to the rate stabilization. What that really means for you if you sell is that the buyer pool is deeper than it was 6 months ago, but it is also more rate sensitive. We aren't seeing the money is no object buyers. We are seeing I can finally make the math work buyers. This means your pricing has to align with that affordability reality. For buyers, this 9% jump in pending sales is a signal. The wait and see crowd is moving. If you wait for rates to drop another quarter point, you might find yourself competing with 10 other buyers who had the same idea. Now I have a question for you, and I want you to think about this as we move into the next section. Are you more worried about the high-rise developments changing your neighborhood character or the insurance rates impacting your monthly cost? Your answer matters because these next changes hit neighborhoods differently depending on where you are and when you plan to move. We have to talk about the structural change that is altering our scarcity baseline, the Manhattanization of our corridors. We are seeing proposals like the 7-story and 8-story projects on Sepulveda that are utilizing the builder's remedy and density bonuses to bypass traditional zoning. Think of this as the vertical frontier. For decades, Manhattan Beach has been defined by low-scale charm. These projects are like dropping a downtown grid into a beach village. For owners, in the next 6 to 12 months, this creates a split reality. If you are right next to these sites, you face construction noise and shadow impacts. If you are in the walkable radius, this could eventually mean more amenities and higher demand for your low density land. Here is how this shift is playing out in 3 beats. First, the trigger. State housing mandates forced the city to plan for density it never wanted. Second, the acceleration. Developers are using legal tools to propose heights up to 18 stories that were previously impossible. Third, ground zero. This is landing specifically on the Sepulveda corridor, creating a new density zone that threatens views in the lower hill section but offers new inventory for a different kind of buyer. The central conflict in Manhattan Beach right now is scarcity versus friction. We have critically low inventory, just 35 single-family homes, which keeps prices high. But we have the friction of insurance costs, high rates, and development anxiety keeping a lid on the frenzy. Doing nothing is still a decision. Waiting means betting that inventory won't spike and that the development landscape won't get more aggressive. So how do you play your cards in this market? If you are looking at the next 3 to 6 months, you have a window where inventory is low and demand is waking up. By working with a strategic advisor, you avoid the trap of pricing for last year's Palisades peak and sitting still. Instead, you gain a data-backed plan to exit efficiently while the supply is still in your favor. No pressure to list, the goal is to make sure future you is glad you handled it the way you did. If you want to see the numbers for your specific home, schedule a one-on-one strategy session or get connected with HomeBot. Let's build a flight plan that gets you where you need to go.